सा ब्रह्मेति होवाच ब्रह्मणो वा एतत् विजये महीयध्वमिति ततो हैव विदाञ्चकार ब्रह्मेति तस्माद्वा एते देवा अधिधरामिवान्यान् देवान्यदग्निर्वायुरिन्द्रस्तेहेनन्नेतिष्ठम् पस्पर्शुस्तेहेन प्रथमो विदाञ्चकार ब्रह्मेति तस्माद्वा इन्द्रोऽधिधरामिवान्यान् देवान् सहेनन्नेतिष्ठम् पस्पर्शसहेन प्रथमो विदाञ्चकार ब्रह्मेति तस्यैष आदेशो यदेतद्यद्विद्युतो व्यध्युतदा इति न्यमीमिषदा इत्यधिदैवतम् अथाध्यात्मं यदेतत् गच्छतीव च मनोनेन चैतदुपस्मरत्यभीक्ष्णगुं सङ्कल्पः तद्धतत्वनं नाम तद्वनमित्युपासितव्यं स य एतदेवं वेदाभिहैनगुं सर्वाणि भूतानि सम्पाचन्ति उपनिषदं भो ब्रूहीत्युक्ता तवुपनिषद् ब्राह्मीं वावत उपनिषदमब्रूमेति तस्यैतपोदमकर्मेति प्रतिष्ठा वेदा सर्वाङ्गाणि सत्यमायतनम् यो वा एतामेवं वेदापहत्यपाप्मानमनन्ते स्वर्गे लोके जेये प्रतितिष्ठति
கேக்குறதா? ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। We'll chant the few. We'll chant part 4.
Chanting just now I have complete.
Oh, Munjurta. Oh, right. Okay. Oh, sorry. Oh, Nanda Leto. Okay. 1 second. We are in that Adesha mantra, mantra 4. Upadesha and Adesha. Correct? Yeah, right. Ah. The first thing is all discussion happens through the medium of the words. Introducing mantra 4. We are introducing mantra 4 and the upasana portion what they are going to discuss. Now we are dealing with words. The difficulty when you are dealing with words, what is the difficulty when you are dealing with words? The difficulty is the word that I use, with what meaning I am using the word, the meaning will remain with me. What will come to you is the word, not the meaning. Again, I repeat, in any communication happens through the words. Now, when I am speaking, the words reach you. The meaning stays with me. Not only that, not only the meaning stays with me, if all the listeners here will give their own meaning to the word. All the listeners here, not only the meaning reaches, everybody will give your own meaning. Most of the times, the meaning that you give is not the meaning that you are supposed to give. That is where the transaction of knowledge becomes very difficult. Again, I repeat, the transaction of knowledge is so difficult because you cannot. It is very difficult to avoid distortion. It is very difficult to avoid distortion. So what is happening till now is Upadesha has been given. Upadesha means the teaching. The teaching happened through the medium of words. See, supposing I come and sit in silence. You come and sit in silence for 1 hour. At 9:15, we say session is concluded. Very good. We had a fantastic session. Session is concluded. People will say, you know what? What you all will go back saying? Phew. So fantastic a session, sir. The communication in silence was so good that we never ever learnt a session like this. So from now on, we should have more silent sessions, isn't it? That's where they go for this. They go for all this 10-day silence. They go 2 week silence. They go, and they think some communication is happening in silence, and silence will really satisfy you so much. Why? Because it is not the silence that is satisfying you. What is satisfying you is you hear your own self, and hearing your own self is very satisfying. Now, in teaching Upadesha, the Upadesha happens through the medium of the words. When Upadesha is happening through the medium of the words, it is very difficult to understand what is communicated, and very difficult to understand what is being communicated, and very easy to misunderstand. Very difficult to understand and very easy to misunderstand. Now, how to avoid the misunderstanding so that you can do it rightly. You can understand it rightly. That is the challenge that the Upanishad faces. Tadeva brahmatvam viddhi nedam yadidam upasate. Tadeva brahmatvam viddhi nedam yadidam upasate. The word is given to you. From that word, what do you understand? Temples are wrong, worship is wrong, rituals is wrong, everything is wrong. You can come to that meaning through the word, because the word says that. Are you able to follow an example? In the same Upanishad, the example is Tadeva Brahmatvam Viddhi Nedam Yadidam Upasate. He said it. Now, listening to these words, you can come to an understanding. What is understanding? Prayer is meaningless, temples are meaningless, rituals is meaningless, everything is useless. Now, is this what the Upanishad says, or is this what you are misunderstanding? The lay person says, sir, எங்களுக்கு அண்டர்ஸ்டாண்டிங் கிடையாது, மிஸ்அண்டர்ஸ்டாண்டிங் கிடையாது. This is how I am taught. So this is how I am taught. Therefore, don't put any responsibility on me for misunderstanding. Are you able to follow till now? This is the problem in Upadesha. When Upadesha is given, there is always this difficulty. Now what do they do? Adesha comes. And Adesha is a typical Vedic Upanishadic method. And the typical Vedic Upanishadic method of teaching will go through the Dirgha sound. And other than chantingly, and the difference we will understand. That's a classic Vedic teaching where the very sound itself, the very elongation itself is the teaching. That is Adesha. Padesha is Tadeva Brahmatvam Viddhi Nedam Yadidam Upasate is Upadesha. Iha Cheta Veti Atasatyamasti Nacheti Havetir Mahadi Vinashti is Upadesha. Now, that Adesha must not contradict the Upadesha, and that Adesha must make the Upadesha more comprehensible. That is the attempt here that Uma is making with us. Because now the teacher is goddess Uma. Now she is giving us some Adesha. Now we will go to mantra and see what the Adesha is, and then we will expand the mantra. Mantra 4 padingo.
तस्यैष आदेशो यदेतद्व्युत्युतो व्यत्युतदा इति न्यमीमिषदा इत्यदिथैवतम् अथाध्यात्मं यदेतत् गच्छतीव च मनोनेन चैतदुपस्मरत्यभिष्णगो सङ्कल्पः
Mantra 4 says, this is its analogy. That which is like the flash of lightning, that which is like the blinking of the eyes, thus the cosmos. Again, now as regards oneself, that is like the that is the now as regards oneself, that is as the mind constantly entertains thoughts, so does it goes to this. Mantra 4 katunga or vati. This is its analogy. This is adesha. Upadesha has been over. Now I am starting with adesha. This is the adesha of the upadesha. What is it? One, that which is like the flash of lightning, low. That which is like the blinking of the eyes, low. Thus the cosmos. Mantra 5. Now as regards oneself, that is as the mind constantly entertains thoughts, so does it goes this. Now what is this adesha? This adesha is far more this adesha is far more complicated than the Upanishad itself. First thing, yadetat vidyuto vyadyu tada. ஒரு வாட்டி ஆ சொன்னா போறாது, மூணு வாட்டி the sound a has come. Did you notice it? Vidyu, it's not poetry, it is not lyrical beauty here. Mantra 4 மட்டும் ஒரு வாட்டி chant பண்ணுங்க.
तस्यैष आदेशो यदेतद्युद्युतो व्यद्युतदा इति न्यमीमिषदा इत्यदिदैवतम्.
அவ்வளவுதான். The word ராகம் பாடுற மாதிரி இருக்குது, isn't it? It is a plus a plus a. Sanskrit. Meaning என்னன்னா, sing is called elongation of vowels. That's all. Elongation of vowels, which is of 3 grades. A, Rishwa. A plus A. A plus A plus A. 4 unit. 4 times you say A. That is the significance of the Adesha. Again I repeat. A plus A plus A plus A. That's why you say Vidyudo, Vidyudada. Anu we will not say, isn't it? It's the same. Why it is repeated thrice? Why it is repeated thrice? That is the very Adesha. Now, what is he taking as an example now? He is taking lightning as an example. Analogy. Lightning is taken as an example of Brahman. What is that lightning? Carefully follow. What is that lightning? Okay. When Yaksha came, what happened to Yaksha? In Vayu and Agni? Lightning has 3 qualities. What are the 3 qualities? The 3 qualities of lightning is, it is called Kshanitvam. Second is Manoharatvam. The third is Prakasha Rupatvam. Lightning has these 3. Again, Kshanitvam means it comes briefly. Second is Manoharatvam. Manoharatvam means it is very attractive. See, that is why when lightning comes, you cannot resist looking at it, no? When lightning happens, Everybody will say, close your eyes, close your eyes. But the eyes will naturally want because it attracts attention. And the third thing is prakasham. It's like it is lightening bright. Lightening bright. Now, how do you explain that? Three features of Brahman is Kshanitvam, Manoharatvam, Prakasha Rupatvam. Indra is taught why Vayu and Agni could not get it and why Indra alone got it. Why? Because first thing you understand what is this Brahman? Tasyaisha Adesha. Tasyaisha Adesha. This is the description by means of an illustration. Brahman, he shines forth like the splendor of the lightning. He disappeared within the twinkling of the eye. This is the comparison of Brahman with reference to the Devas. Are you able to understand now? Again, this is the description of Brahman by an illustration. He appeared like the lightning. He disappeared within the twinkling of the eye. This is the cosmos. This is the cosmos means this is the comparison of Brahman with reference to the Devas. Now what happened with reference to the Devas? Brahman came. It was so attractive, like a lightning. It was so attractive. By the time Indra came, twinkling of the eye, it disappeared. The same story which happened is given through an example of lightning. Now, why he is giving this example? Because the idyati daivatam, ati daivatam is the winking. What happens is exactly like lightning. Darkness briefly brightened and darkness again. Are you able to follow? Darkness lightened and darkness the same again. Meaning what? The human being appears to have gotten a glimpse of Brahman as it were, even before they can understand what it was, Brahman disappeared. Even before they can get what it is, there is this disappearance. The first upasana is lightning. Second upasana is winking, blinking. Winking means blinking of the eye. Okay. See, blinking of the eye means this. How quick is the blinking? How quick is the blinking? There is no time factor at all involved, isn't it? There is no time factor at all involved in it. You say, I understand, even before the eye blinks, it disappears. This is the common experience of most of the seekers. Again, this is the common experience of most of the seekers. They say, I got a glimpse of it. I actually understood it. But even before I can know what it is, it just disappeared. 3 levels of sadhana will keep it elongated, will make you relate to it in a more permanent way, where you can avoid the lightning and winking and the cosmic, the cosmos. Illustration means not to be taken literally and analyzed. Again, illustration means not to take it literally and analyzed. If you take it literally and analyze, you will have a problem. A simple example is this. See, we have seen in the Puranic stories, take a simple example of illustration. In the Puranic stories, we have seen great sages and saints getting angry and cursing people. Correct? That's the illustration. Are you able to follow this example? In the Puranic stories, we always have this illustration. What is the illustration? The illustration is there are these great saints, and these great saints get angry and curse. If you take the illustration too literally, what will happen? If you take this illustration literally, you will end up in a misunderstanding. What is the misunderstanding that you will end up? The misunderstanding with which you will end up is this. What kind of an enlightened master, what kind of a wise person who can get angry and curse? Isn't it? But then it should not be taken literally. It means the adesha, the illustration has to be interpreted rightly. What is the right interpretation? What is the right understanding of that wise men cursing? Wise men don't curse. They simply state the law of karma in a dispassionate way. You did this, because of you having done this, this is what you are going to experience. When they describe, when they explain the law of karma in a dispassionate way, how do you hear it as? You hear it as a curse. And if you take the illustration literally, sir, what kind of a sage Durvasa, sir? Because we have seen Durvasa cursing, we have heard Vasishta cursing, we have heard Vishwamitra cursing, and then we say they are all Saptarishis, great sages and saints, and looks like they don't even have basic control that you and me have. Even you and me have some control, and these sages seems to have no control at all. This is what happens if you take the adesha literally. Don't take this adeshas literally. So what is he saying here? The first quality of Brahman is what? Is like lightning has three properties. What are the three properties of lightning? It's brief, it attracts attention, it is brief, it attracts attention, and it is prakasham. Kshanitvam, manoharatvam, prakasham. This is Brahman. This is God. A method to remember divine, upasana. One of the Upanishad takes up horse and describe the various aspects of the horse as an upasana. Katopanishad takes another upasana. Okay. What is the famous upasana adesha of Katopanishad? The famous adesha of Katopanishad is the symbolism of the chariot. You remember that? The charioteer, the jiva, which is the very symbolism of Krishna, Arjuna, the chariot. So that is the very famous adesha of Katopanishad. The famous adesha that comes from Kenopanisad is what? Lightning. What is lightning? It comes briefly, it attracts attention, and it's bright. Wherever lightning happens, wherever anything brilliant like this happens, you have a choice now to remember Brahman. Now, all these Upanishadic Adeshas will be of no consequence today because those are the days where they are living with nature a lot. So they always take examples from nature a lot. Today we don't live with nature a lot. Therefore, most of these Adeshas will not be of any help to us. But the concept remains the same. What is the concept? It helps us to remember Brahman. It helps us to remember Brahman. Every mind has thought, but it is every mind has thought, and every thought is backed by Brahman. Every mind has thought, and all thoughts, wherever there is a thought, what is backing that thought? Wherever there is a thought, there is Brahman backing that. So, Upasana. In lightning, the world is illumined briefly. In winking, the world is disappearing. In lightning, it appears, winking, closing, it disappears. So, the lightning is one upasana, blinking of the eye is another upasana. Now, don't take literally lightning and blinking. Now we come to what is the implied meaning here? What is the implied meaning here? Wherever there is any source of light, wherever anything is enlivened, whenever you use the word I know, anything that is illumined, all that is illumined, you understand it as you have an opportunity to remember Brahman. That is the Upasana portion. This is the remembrance of Brahman. So wherever there is light. Light means anything that is revealed. How everything is revealed to an individual? Karmendriya, Jnanendriya, Prana, Manomaya Kosha. Correct? Remember the very first mantra of this Upanishad. Shrotrasya Shrotram, Manaso Mano, Yat Vachoga Vachagum, Sau Pranasya Pranaha. Chakshusas Chakshuhu. It means the eye of the eye, the prana of the prana, the ear of the ear, the eye, the ear, the prana, the thought. This is a bit academical now. When I say bit academical means which the Upanishad calls it as story and easy. For us, we find this more difficult than the first two. So, what are these two here? The world is brightened, the thoughts are illumined, the thoughts are illumined. Now, mantra 5. The thoughts are illumined by its speedily as the mind wills, the speed of the thought. Light is thought about as power. Light is thought about as the enlivening factor. Light is thought about as that which makes you, that which reveals everything to you. This is what is being discussed. So, carefully follow now. I don't know how many of you have studied the lesson theory of perception and understood the theory of perception. I know everybody has studied it, but very few would have actually grasped what it is. What is the theory of perception? Any thought is capable of illumining the object, and the thought and the object is illumined by Brahman. Again, to put it in a very simple way, any thought is capable of illumining an object. The thought of an apple makes the apple available to your cognition. The thought of water makes the water available to your cognition. So, any thought is capable of illumining an object. What is it that illumines the thought and the object? Theory of perception makes it very clear that there is this Brahman. Every thought is contacting Brahman, as it were, and every thought is, carefully follow, every thought is going near contacting Brahman, as it were. As it were, it is actually Brahman only. That is where the great master said, how to find Brahman? Look between two thoughts. Look between two thoughts. The thoughts appear like lightning and disappears. The thought appears like lightning and disappears. And it happens in such a speed it happens. But what is it that is actually taught? Every thought is capable, every thought is reflecting consciousness, just as all mirror has the capacity to reflect. So, thought is a mirror. Thought is the mirror reflecting consciousness. When we say thought, down the line, everything becomes part of it. When we say thought means down the line, everything becomes part of it. What is part of it? Vijnanamaya kosha, manomaya kosha, pranamaya kosha, annamaya kosha. I came from subtle to gross. Generally, we study from gross to subtle. How do we grow? Annamaya kosha, pranamaya kosha, manomaya kosha, vijnanamaya kosha. All these are enlivened by Brahman. Therefore, every time you hear a thought, every time you hear a word, every time you hear a sound, that very hearing itself is remembrance of Brahman. Because what makes you hear is Brahman, not what you hear. What makes you hear is Brahman, not what you hear. How does it work? Ityati Daivatam, mantra 4. We use the word Adidaivam. Adidaivam means the external world, the object. Adhyatmam. Adhyatmam is the inner world, the individual. So, Adhyatmam plus Adidaivam equals experience. Both are enlivened by Brahman. Sir, we'll go and study part 1 and part 2. Part 3 story order we will stop. This Adesha is this Adesha is not making any sense at all. Sunil, correct? Huh? This Adesha is not making any sense at all. Not only it is not making any sense, um, hmm, whatever you are saying for the last 45 minutes also is not making any sense. Just lightning, blinking, mind willing, and then Adhyatmam, Adidaivam, theory of perception. You are going all over the place. 4 and 5 simply talks about the consciousness enlivens the subject, the consciousness enlivens the object. How to explain the consciousness is enlivening the subject, and how to explain the consciousness is enlivening the object. Adesha, illustrations are given. That's all. Take it in a very simple way. Now the question that you can ask is, how do we say consciousness is enlivening the subject and the consciousness is enlivening the object? That's what he's saying. Adidaivam and Adhyatmam. Ityadidaivatam. Adidaiva, the word is used. Adhyatmam. Adhyatmam word mantra 5 varda. Adhyatmam. The word Adhyatmam comes in mantra 5. Ityadi Adidaivam. When we do the Vedic prayer, Vedic mantras, you may have heard it. If you focused on the chanting of the priest and everything, you may have heard it. Atidevata, Pratyadidevata, they say. Atidevam, Adideva. Now, all this Adideva is reference to the external world. Adhyatmam, Adidevam is a classic Vedic word for external world. Adhyatmam is the classic Vedic word for individual. So, the individual and external world, the subject and the object, both are illumined, enlivened by Brahman. And that Brahman is what in mantra 1 is known as Shrotrasya Shrotram. Are you okay till now? This is a very what all I say as easy way of understanding is the most complicated way. Yeah? We just mean exactly the ulta. To understand this, a quick reference to the theory of perception. A quick reference to the theory of perception will make us understand what is he trying to say here. Now, what does the theory of perception says? See, perception is used in the sense of knowledge. Theory of knowledge it is called. Okay, how does the theory of knowledge happens? See, what is theory of knowledge? Theory of knowledge is you say, I know. How do you say, I know? You say, I know your name. I do not know your grandfather's name. Correct? Knowledge means you know something. Also, you know that you don't know something. So, that knowing by which you know something and that knowing by which you do not know something, that knowing is called knowledge. Are you okay till now? At least we are sure. At least early morning, no, we can be fresh for a while, isn't it? After that, it's really. So theory of perception means theory of knowledge. Theory of knowledge means how do I know anything? Okay. Take a simple example. I don't know what to show as an example. This is an object. Now imagine this to be an apple. This is not an apple, it's a remote. Imagine this to be an apple. When I show this, what will you say? This is an apple, correct? What actually happened? to say this is an apple? The eyes registered the object. The eyes registered the object. Registration of the object is a thought that is enlivened in you, and then you say, I know. Are you able to follow? Supposing if you don't know what it is, what will you say? You will not say, I am not seeing it. What will you say? I am seeing it, but I don't know what it is. Are you able to follow? Now, there is something which tells you you know. There is something which tells you you don't know. That by which you know what you know, that by which you know what you don't know is the knowledge. That knowledge is Brahman, enlivened by Brahman. That is the example. That is the Adesha, theory of perception. That is why we always say certain clarity in the fundamental concepts of Vedanta is very useful to understand the Upanishad. Now, what we are doing is we want to study the Upanishad and then go to. It is like sitting in a calculus class and then trying to understand algebra. How does it work? It will be, algebra is also confusing, calculus also will be confusing, isn't it? What is algebra? Theory of perception. Okay. What is that theory of perception says? Whenever you see an object, are you seeing only the object? What are you seeing? Not only the object, you are seeing light plus object. Whenever you are seeing something, you are not only seeing the object, you are seeing that which is enveloped by light, that which is enlivened by light. So if you say, I am seeing an apple, you should say apple plus light. When you are hearing a sound plus what light? Something related to sound. Feel. Something related to this. So it means there is something that is common at the root that is making you aware of all these. That is called Shrotrasya Shrotram, Manaso Mano, Yadvacho Vachago Sago Pranasya Prana. That is God, not what you think it is. Tadeva Brahmatvam Vidhi Nedam Yadidam Upasate. It means, what is God? God is that which makes the eyes to see. God is that which makes the skin to feel. God is that which makes the ears to hear. Shrotrasya Shrotram. Instead of saying it in, one way of saying it is as in chapter section 1 and 2. Another way of saying it is in a Adesha. Whenever we use the word Adesha, Adesha means preliminary study. Again, Adesha means preliminary study. Since Upadesha is not understood, Adesha comes. If Upadesha is understood, there is no need for the Adesha. So, what is he saying here? This is illumined. This remote is illumined by light. Correct? Now, what is the other way of saying it? What is the Shrotrasya Shrotram way of saying it? Remote is illumined by the light. Correct? You are able to see the remote because it is illumined by the light. Now, what is the other way of saying it? Simple. That's all. You understand this? You have understood the Adesha. What is it? Light is manifested by the remote. Remote is illumined by the light. Correct? Remote is manifested by the light is manifested by the remote. Remote is enlivened by the light. Statement number 1. Write it down. Remote is illumined by the light. Second statement. Light is manifested by the remote. What is Shrotrasya Shrotram? The remote helps in manifestation of light. Are you able to follow now? Sunil. Remote helps in manifestation of light. Correct? Similarly, every thought is helping you in manifestation of consciousness, which is helping you to remember Brahman. Just as every illumined object makes you to reveals, every object reveals light. Correct? All objects reveals light. The object goes away. For all practical purposes, light also goes away, isn't it? For you can't see light. For you don't know light, isn't it? Therefore, all objects are revealed. All objects reveals the presence of light. Can you say that? All objects reveals the presence of light. Can you say that? We can say that, no? Now, remove the object, remove the light and replace it with thought and consciousness. Remove that word object and light and replace it with consciousness and thought. What will you say? Thought reveals consciousness. Thought reveals consciousness. Each and every thought is revealing consciousness. That each and every thought revealing consciousness is Shrotrasya Shrotram. Thoughts are illumined by the presence of consciousness. Therefore, thoughts reveal consciousness, thoughts manifest consciousness. This is the Adesha. Very, very, I tell you, this is very, very simple. This is, if you understand the analogy of light and object. இப்போ நம்ம என்ன பண்ணோம், ஆதேஷாக்கே ஒரு ஆதேஷா கொடுக்குறோம். The Upanishad is giving an adesha. For the adesha the Upanishad is giving, we gave another adesha. What is the another adesha we gave? Again I repeat, remember this. This is what the Upanishad wants us to do all the time. If you are able to do this all the time, it is called Nididhyasana. Sunil, what is Nididhyasana? You ask, no? What is Nididhyasana? The Nididhyasana. But very difficult to know, sir. Of course, it is very difficult. Of course, it is very difficult. Nididhyasana is not easy. This is Nididhyasana. What is Nididhyasana? Again, go by the sequence. Light, you become aware of the light in the presence of the object. Correct? Again, I repeat. You become aware of light in the presence of the object. Similarly, you become aware of consciousness in the presence of a thought. Similarly, you become aware of consciousness in the presence of a thought. Now, what is he saying here? Light is manifested by the remote. Oh, remote illa. Adu mouse. Remote vechikarom. Yeah. Light is manifested by the remote. Statement number 1. Statement number 2. Remote helps in manifestation of light. Seriya? Remote helps in manifestation of light. Number 3. Remote manifest light. Remote manifest light. Correct? Okay. Ipo remove what you should remove now. 2 words you should remove. What are the 2 words you should remove, Ganesh? Light to remote to remove one. In the place of remote, what word you should use? Thought. Remote ku badala thought. Light ku badala consciousness. Shrotrasya shrotram. Shrotrasya shrotram. Wow. What a beautiful, simple way of elaborating it. Yeah. Adagda we need a Uma Devi. Yeah. Only Uma can make it so. Only Uma can make it so simple. Consciousness is manifested by the thought. Thought reveals consciousness. It means every time there is a thought, every time there is a thought, every time there is a word, every time there is an action, all this is revealing what? Thought na thought, word and deed potukongo. Everything. So every thought, every word, every deed is revealing what? Revealing consciousness. It is consciousness that is in the thought. It is consciousness that is in the word. It is consciousness that is in the action. If you see the consciousness in the thought, word, and action, you are seeing Shrotasya Shrotram. If you are not seeing the consciousness in thought, word, and action, what are you seeing? Honor, dishonor. If you are not seeing the consciousness in the word, if you don't see consciousness in the word, then what will you see in the word? Honor or dishonor. This person is honoring me, this person dishonored me. This person is praising me, this person has insulted me. It means the attention has shifted from the light to the remote. The attention has shifted from the consciousness to the word. When you see the remote, what is Nididhyasana? Remembering the light that is enabling to see the remote is Nididhyasana. Correct? Again, I repeat. What is Nididhyasana? When you see the remote, you understand the light that is enabling you to see the. It is the light that is enabling you to see the remote. Or you can ignore the light, you can forget the light and get carried away by the remote. Are you okay till now? You can focus on the light or you can focus on the remote. Now when you focus on the light, the remote stops affecting you. When your focus is on the remote, when your focus goes on to the remote, the light goes out of focus. And you can't focus on both, either one only. Are you able to follow? That is why we say, if your attention goes to the world, God goes out of focus. If God is your focus, world will go out of focus. Purida? Remember that example that Swamiji always gives. Place the finger in front. When you are focusing on the finger, the background is blurred. When you are focusing on the background, the finger is gone. When you are focusing on the remote, light is gone. When you are focusing on the light, remote stops affecting you. Srotrasya Srotram. Sir, where to go and where to find God, sir? Where to go and see God? Where to go and find God? Upanishad says, just sit quietly, you can find God. Sit quietly, you can find God. Because when you sit quietly, thoughts are coming. When you start observing the thoughts, you understand that each and every thought that is illumined is by God, is by consciousness. That is Brahman. That is the Adesha. That is the Adesha. In the dead body, consciousness is not manifest. Why? Even though consciousness is there, in the dead body, consciousness is not manifest. Why? There are no thoughts. Correct? Even though consciousness is there, we don't see any because if you don't see any manifestation, you can't see the consciousness as it. Thoughts reveal consciousness. Thoughts reveal consciousness. Therefore, the human being visualizes Brahman through every thought, as it were. Because when you are contacting the thought, you are contacting Brahman. Just as when you see the remote, what are you seeing? When you are seeing the remote, what are you seeing? Light. When you are seeing the remote, you are seeing the light. Similarly, every thought, you are contacting Brahman, as it were. We are repeatedly contacting Brahman through every thought. It is so close to you. That's what Kenopanisad is teaching. God is so close to you. In fact, closest is God. Closest is God. Even thought is far away from you. Closer than thought is God. Therefore, you are grateful to the thought. Why are you grateful to the thought? Because in the presence of the thought, you are able to visualize consciousness. Therefore, each and every thought, I worship it and remember Brahman. Each and every thought, I worship, as it were. Worshipping means what? Thanking, because it is remembering you. It is helping you to remember Brahman. It is helping you to remember Brahman. The next question is, இதனால என்ன பிரயோஜனம் சார்? 1 hour you spoke. ஆதேஷ, உபதேஷ, லைட், பிரம்ம, இதனால என்ன ஆச்சு? What happens out of this? What will happen out of this? Nothing will happen. Nothing will happen out of this. Why do we say nothing will happen out of this? Remember, it will be meaningful only to Indra, not to Vayu and Agni. Why it is meaningful only to Agni and not meaningful, why it is meaningful only to Indra and not meaningful to Vayu and Agni? அதுக்கு தான் நேத்திக்கு முந்தானத்துக்குலாம் நிறைய எக்ஸ்பிளனேஷன் கொடுத்து. Why? It is meaningful only to the one who is prepared. It is not meaningful to the one who is not prepared. To the one who is prepared, knowledge is very meaningful. To the one who is not prepared, they will say, sir, knowledge is very theoretical, sir. We want something practical. All this is very academic, sir. All this is so nice to hear. All this is very academic. பிரயோஜனம் ஒன்றும் இல்லை. பிரயோஜனம் ஒன்றும் இல்லை. பிரயோஜனம் ஒன்றும் இல்லை means it is not helping you in your problems in any way. Correct? Then why the Upanishad talks about it? The Upanishad is assuming that all those who are listening to the Upanishad is matured like a Nachiketas. With that assumption, it is talking. Reason. The Upanishad assumes. What is the assumption? The one who is listening is the Nachiketas. One. Because if you are not a Nachiketas, you will not be even allowed in the classroom. Because you will not be allowed into the medical classroom if you didn't pass NEET, no. So the fact that you are allowed into the classroom means you have passed NEET. Yeah. Modern Vedanta classroom எப்படி? இதெல்லாம் மாடர்ன் வேதம். இது வந்து என்ன கிளாஸ் ரூம்னே சொல்ல தெரியாது. Whether it is Vedanta classroom or morals and ethics classroom or kindergarten classroom, we really don't know how to describe this because it's a very unique classroom. What is a unique classroom? Preparatory qualification illama I can come and sit and listen. Not only that, I will ask, what is the takeaway from today's session, sir? That also I will ask. Vidyudo, that the 3 plus a itself is the adesha is very difficult to understand. It's very, very difficult. A human being is remembering. What is helping you to remember Brahman? What is helping you to remember Brahman? Each and every thought of yours is enough to remember Brahman. Each and every thought of yours is enough to help you to remember Brahman. Now, if at the thought level you forget Brahman, where can you remember Brahman? At the word level. At the level of the word you miss Brahman. Where can you understand Brahman? At the action level. At the level of thought, you can remember Brahman. At the level of word, you can remember Brahman. At the level of action, you can remember Brahman. If you don't remember Brahman at the level of thought, word, and action, then how can you remember Brahman? Where is the way? What is the way to remember Brahman? In the moonthly, you forget. What is the fourth way? Tadeva Brahmatvam Vidhi Nedam Yadidam Upasate. There is no fourth method. There is no fourth method. Tadeva Brahmatvam Vidhi Nedam Yadidam Upasate. Upasate means upasana. Upasana means remembrance. What is the way to remember Brahman? The thought, the word, and the deed. The karmendriya, jnanendriya, prana, manomaya kosha, vijnanamaya kosha. These are all the ways, these are all the aids that help you to remember Brahman. Now, if you don't remember Brahman in any of these, if you miss God in any of these, if all this doesn't help you to remember God, if all this doesn't aid you to understand God, then through what you will remember? Then through what you will remember? Is there any other method? Upanishad says there is no other method. There is no other way by which you can remember Brahman. Tadeva Brahmatvam Vidhi Nedam Yadidam Upasate. Upasate means upasana. Upasana means nearer, closer. Nearer, closer means constantly remembering. Even in worldly relationship, you ask, do you remember me? You ask, no. Do you think about me? Do you remember me? You ask, isn't it? Why? Thinking or remembrance indicates closeness. Supposing there is a physical proximity, but mentally you are not at all thinking. Will you like it? But there is no physical proximity, but mentally you are thinking. So upasana means what? Upasana means remembrance. Upasana means remembrance. And to remember, there are lot of aids that helps you to remember. What are the aids that help you to remember? The karmendriyas, the jnanendriyas, the pranamaya kosha, the manomaya kosha, the vijnanamaya kosha. All this help you to remember God. Other way, in each and every thought there is God. In each and every word there is God. In each and every action there is God. So if you don't remember God through thought, word and deed, if you don't remember God through the karmendriya, jnanendriya, pranamaya kosha, annamaya kosha, manomaya kosha, vijnanamaya kosha and all that, what is the other way to remember God? Chanting, sir. Going to temple, sir. Doing this, sir. All this comes under these three. Thought, word and chanting is through the word. So when you are chanting, you are supposed to remember. Are you able to follow? Therefore, the answer. Tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam yadidam upasate. Tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam yadidam upasate. Beautiful is this description. Adesha. And this Adesha is far more easier than the Upadesha. Why this Adesha becomes far more easier? Because it is giving you a practical tip. What is a practical tip that is giving you to remember God? The practical tip that is giving you to remember God is thought, word, and deed. Just as all objects helps you to remember, all objects help you to remember what? Remember light. Just as all objects help you to remember light, similarly, every thought, word, and deed, all thought, word, and deed helps you to remember Brahman. This is the Adesha. So the Upadesha is what? The Upadesha is Shrotrasya Shrotram Manaso Mano Yadvacho Vachago Pranasya Pranaha is the Upadesha. Second Upadesha. Tadeva Brahmatvam Vidhi Nedam Yadidam Upasate. Second Upadesha. The third Upadesha is Ihachedavedhi Adasatyamasti Nacheti Havedir Mahadi Vinashti. Idu Upadesha. Upadesha Gapram came a story. After the Upadesha and the story comes Adesha, an analogy. What is the analogy? Just as the object reveals light, each and every thought, word, and deed of you helps you to remember God. Tadeva Brahmatvam Vidhi. This is Allah wants us. Give us a practical, give us a simple method to remember God. What is the simplest method to remember God? This is the simplest method. What is that? Thought, word, and deed is constantly happening in you? Yes, sir. As much as possible, try and discard what you hear and focus on what makes you to hear. Discard what you hear and focus on what makes you to hear. Sunday morning, what you hear? Indian cricket team is the best. Monday morning, what you hear? They are the most useless. They are wonderful, useless. So at one point of time, one word you will hear is useful. Another time you will hear useless. Ganesh. At one point of time you will hear useful. At another point of time you will hear useless. Don't pay the attention to useful or useless. Pay attention to the hearing, because the sound is the aid to remember Brahman. Karmendriya is an aid to remember Brahman. Jnanendriya is an aid to remember Brahman. Pranamaya Kosha is an aid to remember Brahman. Manomaya Kosha is an aid to remember Brahman. Vijnanamaya Kosha is an aid to remember Brahman. This is the aid. Upadesha and Adesha. With this, the Upanishad is over. 4 more mantras is just a quick revisiting everything, with which we will conclude tomorrow. So Upadesha is over. Adesha, practical aid, is also over. And then the tradition is summarize the whole thing with the praise of the knowledge. When you summarize, how do you pray? How do you summarize? You summarize by the glory, Brahma Stuti. So we will praise Brahman, we will praise knowledge, and then we will conclude tomorrow. With this series of Kenopanisad, we will try to, tomorrow we will finish. Sai. Avaloda mudichiralam. Now, Upadesha, Adesha, ella vanda, it will start going over the head. And quickly we will finish. Yes, Sunil.
Sir, now said for every thought we should remember the consciousness.
Yes.
But every thought is a product of the mind and intellect.
Yes. Thought is the product of mind and intellect, that which is enlivening the thought. Just as the remote is an object, the mind and intellect. The remote is the mind and intellect. Without the object, you can never remind yourself of the light. So the aid to remember the light is what?
Consciousness. Light.
The aid to remember the light is the remote.
Remote.
Isn't it? Why we need an aid? Because we can't directly remove the object. We say there is no light. We say it is blank, isn't it? So the object is an aid to reveal the light. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Similarly, mind and intellect is an aid to reveal consciousness because of the enlivening factor. Mind and intellect is not consciousness. The remote is not light, no?
Correct.
That's why I'm again bringing the same example to make it clear. We will not say the light is the remote. In the presence of light, various objects can be seen, correct? Remote can be seen, The mouse can be seen. The cup can be seen. The glass can be seen. It means what? Light enable, you can remember light by various methods. What are the various methods? Remote is one method. The mouse is another method. The cup is another method. The glass is another method. Are you able to follow? Similarly, mind and intellect, which entertains various kinds of thought, word, and deed, is an aid to remember Brahman. Thoughts belong to mind and intellect only. Thoughts doesn't belong to consciousness. Just as the light doesn't belong to the remote, isn't it? Light doesn't belong to the object. It is light that reveals the object. Object has its own guna karma. Object has its own nama rupa guna karma. Are you able to follow, Sunil?
Yes, sir.
The object has its own nama rupa guna karma, but the presence of nama rupa guna karma is possible only because of the light. Just as the presence of the object itself is made possible by light, though the object has its own nama rupa guna karma. And light is not part of the nama rupa guna karma. Or we have to say nama rupa guna karma plus light. Correct? We have to say nama rupa guna karma plus light. In Vedanta, what do we say? Plus, plus, plus. That plus is the common denominator. That plus light is the common denominator for what you should say now? Cup. What you should say?
Remote.
Remote. What you should say?
Mouse.
Mouse. What you should say?
Glass.
Glass. What you should say? Handkerchief. Hand. All these are nama rupa guna karma. One is different from the other, but all are enlivened by the light. Therefore, I need not say handkerchief plus light, cup plus light, remote plus light, mouse plus light, glass plus light. What is nididhyasana? What is nididhyasana? Making an effort to say plus light, plus light, plus light is nididhyasana. Are you able to follow? Making the effort to say plus consciousness, plus consciousness, plus consciousness. You don't say, anyway, it is common denominator, we ignore it, isn't it? Upanishad says that which you have ignored is Brahman. That which you ignore, the common denominator is Brahman. Tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam yadidam vasate. Are you okay?
So, good thought or bad thought, good action, bad action, all these are the qualities of the mind and intellect. The
Exactly.
very source of thought is
enlivened by Brahman. So, I can't say good thought is Brahman, bad thought is Rakshasa. Good thought is Brahman, bad thought is Rakshasa, I cannot say. Good thought is one Nama Rupa Guna Karma, bad thought is another Nama Rupa Guna Karma. Both are enlivened by Brahman. Brahman. Tadeva Brahmatvam Vidhi Nedam Yadidam Vasate. Are you okay?
oh, okay.
This is the Upanishad. This is the Upanishad. Beautiful. With this, we conclude mantra. With this, we conclude mantra 5 today. There are 4 more mantras which we will continue tomorrow, and we'll try to cover the 4 mantras and conclude this Kenopanisad session. We'll meet tomorrow.